Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude BeyondMystic, and welcome to this Precious Metals Weekly Report with Mr. Andy Scheckman and BIX Weir. You can find Andy, of course, at milesfranklin.com. And our friend, Mr. BIX Weir, sporting the red. Let's go something, Cat. You can find him at roadtoruda.com.
Canada, give me freedom!
You can find him at roadtoruda.com. Welcome back, gentlemen. This is the weekend Precious Metals review. And of course, we're going to be talking also a bit about crypto as it turns out. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Good to see you, JC. Bixie, good to see you, buddy.
Nice to see you too. I'm so in awe of my Canadian brethren. Who'd have thought the Canadians would be the ones with the balls enough to stand up against the machine? I love it. I love it. Hopefully a lot of that will leak down here.
Yeah, well, apparently it's starting in California. You're getting your own convoy driving from California to DC, I think, starting on March 1st or something like that. You guys said?
I think a lot of what Canada did and Australia was doing have leaked into the Democrats here, because Gavin Newsom, probably the most lefty criminal we know who runs California, they are lifting the mask mandate on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wow. I don't think they're going to lift everything, but at least the mask mandate in public, which is great, right in time for our little Freedom Roadshow is going to be maskless, which is awesome.
We're going to get into the roadshow and the dates a little bit here. Violet Big says, Andy, nice haircut and nice tan. I'm jealous.
Florida.
Yep, it's good. It's good living here. It's a lot better than Minnesota. Got to tell you that. I always told myself it made you tough and it built character, and was wrong. It's great to be in the sunshine in February.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm a little bit jealous because I've been freezing my butt off on Parliament Hill, doing these interviews with the, the mean people on Parliament Hill, and they keep giving me hugs. So I don't know. It's oh, what a crazy world we live in. Folks, thank you so much for joining us here today on this Friday live stream. We are today going to be announcing the winners of our 200-ounce of silver giveaway here at BeyondMystic. There's one winner on the American side, of course, one winner here also for the Canadian subscribers. We'll get to that after the commercial, as they say in movie business. But Bix, tell me what's happening with your hat there. I think you have a good collection of hat going on there. What's that one?
I've got my Let's Go Brandon hat, which speaks for itself. I've got my Road to Ruda hat, getting ready for the Roadshow. Yeah. And then I have, when I retire from silver analysis, I'm going to be a rock star. So there's my music hat too.
You're already a rock star to me, Bix.
Well, I know. They just set up the merchandise part of Road to Ruda, and she's got shirts and hoodies and all this stuff ready for the Roadshow. And it couldn't hit at a better time, which starts March 5th. Couldn't hit at a better time with Canada leading the way, people speaking out about wanting to be free. And it's so important. And I've been screaming it, and people are starting to listen. And it took the pain of insane governments in Canada for people really to say, okay, let's do it.
Wow. I love the swag, man. It's really cool. Oh, really cool. So are you doing a drop ship with this? Or is Paige shipping this? How does this work on your website?
It goes out of Spotify.
Okay.
So they take all the profits, but but hey, we got a site and we don't have to do all that much.
Well, let me bring that down to the link, this link down to the live chat. So that's rotoruda.my Shopify. Oh, my Shopify.
Yeah, but that's the link. Just go to Road to Ruda.
Yeah.
And
right
go
here.
to the shop.
Merch and shop. There you go. Okay. So guys, roadtoruda.com. You'll find all the links. Bix, let's get started here. You were putting out quite a few videos this week. We talked about last week, or 2 weeks ago, the 50-day moving average. You're eyeing also here the 200-day moving average, but there's something else here with the B of A. Can you share that with the audience? Which slide do you want me to bring up first?
Put the one with the numbers on. Ted Butler came out a while ago and has been saying somebody's leasing silver. Somebody's leasing silver from JP Morgan. He figured out through analyzing all the deliveries on all the like SLV deliveries and the COMEX deliveries over the last 10 years, JP Morgan sucked up about 1.2 billion ounces of physical silver. Amazing, since you look at the Hunt brothers and they were only dealing with about 100 million ounces, right. And then 100 million of futures contracts. But yeah, it seems to be true. And then truthfully, I think Ted gets a little inside information from people behind the scenes, because nobody can be that smart. But he deals with just the data that the CFTC puts out. It's amazing. But the other thing he was looking at is the OCC reports on derivatives. And that's where you see here in this is the third quarter. They lag about 4 or 5 months. The third quarter, you can see Bank of America. These are the 4 big derivative players in the world. I think they take up like 90% of all the derivatives. So it's not many banks that have to control the system. But you can see Bank of America. This is for precious metals. It's everything except gold on the precious metal side. It's 99% silver. We all know that. Bank of America in the last 18 months, look at that number. That's $18 billion worth of silver derivatives that they held on September 29th of 2001. The price of silver at that time was slammed down to the lowest possible. It was at $21.50, I think. And that equated to over 800 million ounces of silver that they've leased from. Now, we don't know if it's all leased silver from JP Morgan. It could be other things, but the most likely culprit entity is JP Morgan. JP Morgan has not been allowed to trade for its own account since they got fined $920 million. So if you go
and remind the audience, why did they get fined again?
Oh, for tens of thousands of rigging jobs. That's what the Department of Justice had to do it, because the CFTC, well, right now they're down to 2 commissioners. They will be down to 1 commissioner next month. 1 commissioner out of 5. I have no idea what's going on there. And they just asked for another $100 million. But after the DOJ said, no, we're going to either nail you for racketeering, which will put JP Morgan out of business, or you don't trade for your own house account. So basically, nothing goes through their house account. Everything goes through the JP Morgan customers. I would love to see the text messages, the tweets that go back and forth between all those traders as JP Morgan orchestrates this whole thing with Bank of America, with Citibank, with Goldman Sachs. And remember last year when silver almost broke $30, it was Goldman Sachs' Jeff Curry who came out and said, no, you guys don't understand. It's the SLV authorized participants that are hedging the silver going into SLV. And I'm like, that's illegal. You cannot do that. That silver is not owned by the authorized participants. It's owned by the shareholders of SLV. So all this stuff it's right there in black and white, 18 billion. And then the other chart, which really blew my mind, and this is from the same report. This is a graph of the precious metals, basically the silver contracts. If you look at 2018, the amount of OCC derivatives basically went over double. It went from like 33 billion to 70 billion. Why? You look at the supply and demand for silver, it's so steady. And it actually, the supply and demand went down during that time because of COVID. But it's really steady. I mean, silver is one of the most volatile metals out there, and yet the supply and demand coming out of the mines, it's so steady. I mean, it never varies more than 5%. It's crazy what they're allowed to get away with. And the volatility comes 100% from the derivative side of the equation, which is a completely separate world from supply and demand. So I just wanted to point out to everybody, Ted Butler is absolutely 100% correct again. And the OCC that collects this data, they don't just collect it for fun. They collect it to see anomalies that take place so they can stop manipulation. Well, can you think of a larger anomaly than Bank of America adding $18 billion worth of silver leases or whatever it is from 0 to 18 billion in a matter of 18 months? That's insane.
No red flag here. Nothing to see here. Move along, folks.
It's further proof that the CFTC, the SEC, even the DOJ and the OCC are in on the con.
Yeah.
They're about, I don't know if they were in on it from the beginning. Parts of it probably were, but they're definitely in on it now. They have to keep this system going. And the only way to keep this fraudulent system going is to continue the manipulation until it ends. And that's, I think, where we're approaching.
And let's talk about that, Andy. As we're looking at all these manipulations here in the paper market, what's happening in the physical right now? The last time you were on, we talked about some tightness in the market. So please update the audience here and let them know what you're seeing here when the rubber meets the road as to the physical silver and gold itself.
You know, you got to ask yourself, what in the hell would anyone, where's the incentive to short 800 million ounces of silver in this environment? In an environment where it seems like the wheels are spinning off the bus, and it makes you think that there are bigger players involved. I think the gold market is one thing, but over the last 2 years, you guys, silver has been a proxy for the demand for the flight away from the US dollar, and the understanding that the public has what they're bringing to the table and what they want to do all centers around what we've been talking about for a very long time, and their choice is silver. I think when you look at, you know, guys like Wall Street Silver, who really came onto the scene a year ago and in spectacular fashion, it's emblematic, I think, of what you're seeing sentiment-wise across the globe, not just here in the United States. And I think it has a bigger meaning now in and of itself than just watching the price rise. I think what it is, it's the kryptonite to the system. It shines a light upon the frailty of a system that is, in essence, an insolvent government running massive inflation and painted into a corner. And I think rising silver almost it is emblematic of the system going down. And I don't think they want to go down without a fight, because, you know, you have to ask yourself, how could anyone be stupid enough to short 800 million ounces of silver right now, when I don't know how many ounces are left on COMEX altogether, but it's probably a third of that or less in total number of ounces in registered and eligible. So I don't know, it's nuts. So anyways, when we look at the demand in silver over the last 2 years, it's been extraordinary in physical. And in fact, Bill Murphy sent me an email last night, meaning to get back to him, and he said, "Just Andy, how the hell is it so different in your industry than it is in the mining share industry and on COMEX?" And I guess the answer to that is that I think people understand now that silver is wealth, and mining shares are an investment, and they offer wicked upside potential. They're also much more volatile than the silver market, which is already volatile. But I guess what I'm getting at in all of this, in a very roundabout way, JC, is that the demand for silver is more than extraordinary, has been for 2 years. And I have been the little boy who cries wolf for the last year and a half, telling people that it's really hard to get. And I'll tell you, it's never been this hard ever. And right now, we just sold 70 bags of junk silver today, amount of junk silver. And I don't know where I'm going to get more. We are having a hard time getting product from the UK, from Austria. The UK ran out of blanks earlier in the year. Austria, the mint was shut down for a period of time due to Omicron. The demand globally, not just here in North America, is really, really making it difficult to get product. And when I look at a record year that we had last year, it represented about 94% of all the business we did was in silver. And roughly the same thing the year before. So it was never that way. In the 30 years that I've been doing this, gold always had a much bigger footprint in the amount of sales that we were doing in business. And it doesn't matter. There are people buying 7 figures worth of silver, taking delivery or having it stored. They're not afraid of the logistics, but there's an awakening. And a lot of it has to do with cryptocurrency, and a lot of it has to do with inflation. People are finally awakening to, I think they're looking at silver as maybe the most undervalued asset in the world when they look around and see all other assets just blowing up in value.
Right. Well, we're definitely seeing and feeling the inflation here. And now, of course, with the trucker convoy, we're seeing even more of that. You should see the prices at the local store here. It's absolutely crazy. But going back to people recognizing maybe the con here and wanting to hedge themselves against not just the tyranny, but this inflation, more and more of our viewers, including here, Serbian Mike, as a moderator on the show, he was lucky enough to be interviewed by Viva Frey on the Parliament Hill the other day. So that's a big shout out to Mike there. But he says, yeah, I bought from Andy. Andy's the man. But Andy, you're saying right now, a lot of people were looking at this special earlier this week here for the junk silver. What else do you have in stock there for these audience members who are still now maybe understanding the value of silver and wanting to get that in their physical hands right now? What do you have for them? Are we still good to do more work?
Yeah, I mean, look, we had 100 bags of silver, and that's $100,000 face value. We bought a huge estate. 70 in one deal today, so those are gone. But we do have Buffalo rounds available. We have the Noah's Ark available, both in the 1 ounce and the 1/4 ounce. Brand new silver Buffalo rounds. Those are $3.19. The Noah's Arks are $4 and $2.50 per coin over on the quarters. We have tons of silver eagles, but the stuff that I've made a living out of selling for the past 2 years, the Kangaroos, the Krugerrands, the Britannias, they're becoming almost impossible to get in a timely fashion. We keep having delivery delays. We keep being told that there's a hiccup in getting it through customs, or a hiccup with getting it on the truck, or whatever it may be. It's enough to drive you insane. These things never happened before.
Right.
And over the last several months, I have been telling people that there's great value found in bars right now, much better than in the coins at high premium. So look, we still have product, but the selection, the ability to select, the ability to pick and choose what you want, those days are gone. And when you look at silver eagles at over $8.50 over the price of silver, you wonder, is this a new normal? But they haven't come down in 2 years. So,
right.
I don't know, you guys. I just simply will tell you that I stand by my prediction that before this is all said and done. Look, Rick Rule, I'll give you an example. He keeps saying publicly that the allocation of metals across the entire U.S. financial matrix is 0.5%. And he always says, from the Harvard Endowment Fund down to Joe Sixpack. It's at the mean over the past 30 or 40 years has been 2.5%. And so if we just were to get to the mean, to the average, where everyone owned 2.5% of their assets were in silver and gold, that's a 5-fold increase in a market that will bend and break in a matter of hours in that environment. I think that will be the biggest challenge, because people are starting to wake up to the fact that the Fed is screwed, that they can't raise rates. If they do, everything blows up. And if not, the dollar blows up. They're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. And they're going to let the markets rattle. They're going to raise rates enough to freak the markets out, and then they'll come back in and start all over again with lowering interest rates and reaccommodating. And they've lied to us for so long now about the amount of inflation and about the money creation that it's very obvious to me that ultimately they will choose what all other politicians have. They'll choose the printing press over austerity, and they will sacrifice the dollar. So ultimately, metals are going a whole hell of a lot higher. And that's why you're seeing big money being taken off in nefarious ways. Like, as BIX would talk about, money being pulled out of SLV so it doesn't have to be reported. We saw tons of silver being taken off, 600 tons of silver taken off the London Metals Exchange in January. And so they're continuing to pull metal off of the exchanges and do so in very clandestine manners. But the big money is front running this, and it's starting to spill over into a lack of availability in retail product. And that will be the defining characteristic of this market before it's all said and done.
Right. And Paige is on the screen. She says, yeah, free markets are the road to freedom. They're also the road to Ruda. We'll get back to that in a second. So thank you, Paige. I appreciate that. And for you Canadian subscribers also who are looking for a physical metal in your own possession, please check out our affiliate here in Canada, mfbullion.ca. There we're having the Krugerrands on sale at $569 over spot Canadian. BIX, let me bring you back on the screen here. You just mentioned crypto earlier, and I know that Dick Allgaier was on the show earlier today, and he was talking also about how with his team and with his viewership, they're asking their audience members to consider also taking some of those profits from the crypto table to invest them into a precious physical silver and gold here. Explain to the audience also your point of view on that, and how you've been also encouraging your audience member to do the same, and how you try to balance your own portfolio here. Not giving financial advice, but how you try to balance here your hedge outside of the system here.
Well, yeah, I've been screaming for a long time. Try to figure out what percentage of each you want and stick to it. I love 50-50, and it's very difficult as cryptos run so fast.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say to anybody with crypto profits, you're going to need some other type of asset. Cryptos will mostly do well depending on what scenario happens. If we are heavy-handed regulation, who knows which ones they're going to, that's regulators picking the winners and losers, basically. Silver has been suppressed for about 170 years. From all my research going back to the opium wars, that's how long the price suppression of silver by these same bankers that we love to hate. When that ends, the very moment that ends, it has never been freely traded until before that time. When that ends, we're going to see a rise in the price of physical silver that will blow away any crypto return. And those crypto returns, I mean, they'd have went 40x last year. Silver and gold, my prediction, I think they'll go 1-to-1. They should be today about 3-to-1. And the reason being they're coming out of the ground at 7-to-1, and 60% of the demand comes from the industrial side. So they're eating those up. So that leaves, 3-to-1 for a ratio. You can't look at price, because price is rigged on the comics. The other ratio you might want to think about is the amount of available physical gold versus the amount of available physical silver is roughly around 6 billion ounces of each. That's a 1-to-1 ratio. So the only ratio that's out of whack is the 79-to-1 ratio in the pricing that is controlled by JP Morgan, Bank of America, and the criminal cabal.
Mm-hmm.
When that ends, the very moment that ends, everybody's going to be freaking out. Why did silver jump to $100, $1,000, or $10,000, or whatever it ends up going to in a free market? That's what I'm waiting for. That's what 170 years of waiting for the end of manipulation. That's the kind of thing that I have always been in it for. To end the con, to end the rigging of silver, and to participate in a free market value price of silver. And that's all we're asking for is, hey, somebody needs to do their job, either regulators or just shut down these exchanges and start fresh. I don't think there's any scenario that would be good for the world that has $1,000 COMEX price of silver, because you would see the largest banks in the world go down, which would take everything down. Why not just stop trading on the COMEX? Just shut it down and say, okay, settle in cash or whatever you need to do, and then open up a real exchange where people go in with real metal to discover real prices of silver, of gold, of oil. But it would have to be across the board, because right now the COMEX and the LBMA are all derivative markets, and the COMEX is what decides price on pretty much every commodity out there, and everyone is rigged. So yeah, it's going to be a struggle, whatever happens. And I'm a big advocate of holding metal in your own possession. Whatever happens, it has never been seen in the history of exchanges, history of commodities, history of our economic system. And then again, we've never had $2-3 quadrillion worth of derivatives controlling everything. So really interesting time to be alive, if you ask me.
Yes, and you're right. We're living in every day now. We're having to see and evaluate things that we never thought we would see before, and they're accelerating at a very rapid clip.
Like Canada, freedom breaking out in Canada, of all places.
Who would have known? Exactly. All those nice, polite Canadians. Oh my God. But let's talk about the parity with gold here. For the audience members who might be new to this and who haven't been following this, if you go back and look at the older WebBot data, the predictive linguistics, Cliff High did talk about this parity, or this 1-to-1, and eventually maybe surpassing even the price of gold. So BIX is in good company there. But also Jim Sinclair, if you follow him at jsmindset.com, he also talked about eventually could be be this parity. And he always discusses silver as gold, but on steroids, right? So when this goes, as BIX is saying here, none of us really understand the ramifications of these hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years of suppression here, really, in different forms, of course, but in the mainstay here, how that's going to affect the price of everything, not just gold and silver, but the rest of your reality. So that's very fascinating. Violet Biggs is asking, I just put this up on the screen, Andy, for you. When we were talking about mfbullion.ca earlier, what's the delivery charge in Canada? Can you answer that question? And also,
I think it's $25, I believe.
That's a flat rate for any order?
Yeah, and I think on larger orders it's free, but I do believe it's $25.
Okay, very good. So a minimal cost here, very good. And Claudette Leblanc, she is from Northern Ontario. She says, hey, I bought from there, is also great service. And yes, I'm getting a lot of great reports also. People very happy with that side of the supply chain as well. Guys, we're 25 minutes in. We do have the contest winners to announce. Is there anything else before we do that? Making everybody wait. Like, JC, come on, tell us who the winner is. Andy, let me go back to you. In the last week here, what are you seeing here across the board on the terrain now with the phone calls? Is it still dead? We've seen quite a bit of manipulation here. The sentiment seems to have been waning here maybe in the last week. But what do you expect here moving forward? And especially now, given that the EU is also trying to clamp down on this hyperinflation. And Cliff had explained that it would first happen in Turkey, then Europe, and then eventually hit our shores. Are we close to that moment now? And what are your feelings here on the market in North America?
You know, I think that it'll be very difficult for them to get tough on inflation, and I think this is setting the stage in March for some fireworks. But I think in order, first of all, you have to understand that there's no way that the world reserve currency can go nominally negative. So they have to raise rates high enough to give them wiggle room. And I think they'll hold true to that promise. You know, you got this guy for the St. Louis Fed who's talking about a half point and then an intermeeting raise, and being much more aggressive in the rate hikes, talking about selling off the balance sheet. You got Powell saying, hey, you know, we only want to hold U.S. Treasuries. So they're sitting on $2.7 trillion in mortgage-backed securities. I mean, if they hold true to what they're talking about and actually selling off their balance sheet and doing so aggressively, they're talking about a much more aggressive path to normalizing their balance sheet, which they really can't do. But let's just, you know, say for a moment that they do and try to freak the markets out, give themselves some wiggle room to come back in and accommodate, which I do think they will end up doing. You know, I think there's bumpy times ahead. You look at gold, it's broken out today. It really looks like it's broken out. And I guess we'll have to see where it ultimately goes. But I don't see how gold and silver can't perform incredibly in this environment. In either case, you have stocks, bonds, and real estate at all-time highs, inversely correlated to a rise in interest rates. You have inflation running at ridiculous rates. You know, we just saw the Levy Economic Institute come out with the Freedom of Information Act report where, you know, they challenged the Federal Reserve all the way to the Supreme Court. The records from 08 to 10 were sealed for 2 years and then for another 10 years. And they challenged it all the way to the Supreme Court, where we were told $700 billion went into TARP. That sprung the Tea Party, $700 billion into infrastructure and just over $3 trillion to the banks. They told us they spent $5 trillion, but in reality, it just was brought to everyone's attention. They spent $29 trillion, giving money all over the place. $2.5 trillion to Citibank, basically nationalizing it, and its co-owners of the New York Fed. Talk about incestuous. This predates the 2019 repo market. Bailing out of the banks every single night. BIX did a better job than anyone on that, showing that it was up to $1 trillion a night, I believe. And then you got half of every dollar ever created since the history of this country, beginning of this country in the last 2 years. The amount of inflation that's out there is extraordinary, and everyone wonders why prices are so high. It has nothing to do with supply chain problems. I mean, yeah, sure, it exacerbates it, but it's an increase in the money supply. And everyone has been forced to stay home and not work. So you have fewer people producing stuff. and you have way more money chasing that stuff, less stuff to be bought. And it's just straight up too much money chasing not enough goods. That is inflation. And I think they will choose that path. I think that gold and silver have a very bright future. You know, one last thing. You hear these talking heads on CNBC say, well, you know, they're talking about a rate hike to 2.5%, 3%, and that'll be very bad on gold. Well, no, it won't be. It's spitting in the ocean, right? Paul Volcker raised interest rates to 20% above the rate of inflation, killed the gold bull because, yeah, you could make money 20% on treasuries. You double your money in every 3.5 years. Who wouldn't do that, right? But if they raise rates to 2% and you have a 7.5% CPI, which is bullshit anyway, we all know it's double that. But even at 7.5% and a 2%, 10-year treasury, you're still negative 5.5%. And so gold, which doesn't pay a coupon or doesn't give any interest, sure beats the hell out of negative 5%. So It isn't bad for gold. And in fact, it's good for gold because it shines a light upon the corner that they are painted themselves into. Yeah. And I think people need to understand gold and silver is wealth. It's not an investment. And all of these assets that everyone thinks they're so rich by owning, just understand that we've created so much money over the past several years that price discovery is not really working right now. And when you find an equilibrium of interest rates and risk and things start to correct, people will understand very, very quickly what I'm talking about. But this is make-believe. And as BIX was saying, and I talk with Dick Algier as well. And when you take profit off the table, whether it be crypto, whether it be equities, whether it be bonds that you've made fortune in over all of these years, and pull it out, and not only are you putting it into historical wealth that's outlived 2 world wars, German hyperinflation, and the Great Depression, and every pandemic, you're also putting it into the most undervalued asset on the planet. An asset that has duality in demand between industrial and monetary, that's half of its 1980 high, is depleted in nature, is coming out of the ground 11 times under what it should be in relation to gold. I mean, I can keep going on, but the bottom line is that this is an opportunity you don't find very often. This is buying Bitcoin at $400 and before it's all said and done. So that's what I see. I see a Fed that's really screwed and painted themselves into a corner that either way, whether it's a massive inflation or the greatest depression of all time. Remember, it's not just an inflation, but gold and silver are the only assets that are not simultaneously someone else's liability. In a deflation, in a depression, they are money, they are wealth, and that's the way they need to be looked at.
Yeah. Terry on the screen says, I like this guy, Andy. I do too. And of course, if you want to do business with Andy, please do go check him out at beyondmystic.net/silver for these weekly specials afforded to the Beyond Mystic audience. I have a question from Claude Leblanc. Just an update, Andy, on your stamping machine. Let me see if I can bring that up. How's the training going with your staff here, and how close are you to being able to produce your first run?
So the staff from Italy is actually coming to our office on Monday, and they are actually en route. We hope to be stamping bars within a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In terms of submitting art for Beyond Mystic or for Road to Ruta, we would need an artist rendition in which we would then make a mold or in order to stamp it. I don't know how long that takes, a few days, a week, I don't know. This is all very new to me, but I would say to you that we can start printing your bars, I would guess conservatively, 2 to 3 weeks. And I think we can start making them. So we need to get those images that you want, and we'll get a die made and we'll roll with it. I promise you, you guys will be the first ones that we do. So
that is music to our viewers' ears for sure. All right, guys, we've made you wait long enough. Let me see if I can bring up some music here to inspire maybe the first part of our contest. If I play this, can you sing over that, Bix? What do you think?
I could. I don't want to mess up the original.
Let me play it a little bit. If you guys don't know this song, you need to know this song. And of course, we are going to pay you your silver now. So let's see if we can hear this.
Have a little fun with our friends on the comics. This song goes out to that big old gigantic naked short out there. You know who you are. It's kind of lonely at the top, ain't it? Thought I heard the people say, pay me my silver now. Tomorrow's another trading day. Pay me my silver now. Watching the comics prices rise. Pay me my silver now. JP Morgan, they can shut the highs. Pay me my silver now. Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now. CFTC, you better shut
A
it
long
down.
song.
Pay me my silver now. These people rising up in every town. Pay me my silver now. The Gata boys are in the know. Pay me my silver now. Tinfoil hats at the silver show.
Oh, tinfoil hats.
Pay me my
I would
silver.
like to point out that it was Jeffrey Christian that was calling us tinfoil hat people. And then here
Right.
we are 10 years later, and the DOJ fines JP Morgan for rigging the silver market tens of thousands of times, and the largest fine in U.S. commodity history, $920 million.
Yep, exactly. Tinfoil hatters, no more. All right, guys, thank you for joining and singing along with us here in the live chat. Nikki says, I love this song. I do too, actually. We should do a music video of that. Bix, that would
What's
be
that
fun.
one?
What? No, I mean, if you played the guitar with that band and some
Well,
singing.
why don't you come out live? I think, Canada's about to open up. It's time for Jean-Claude to hit America. You can meet us in Phoenix, in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
We can look for Snippy's Cave of Gold.
I'll be there.
Absolutely. And we're closer and closer to finding it. Guys, go check out Road to Ruta here to find out the dates of this traveling roadshow. We'll get back to that here in just a second. But first, let me announce the winner for the Canadian audience members. It is Marcel Lapointe. And I'll just say he's from Ontario, not to dox him. So, Marcel, I will be sending you an email right after the show to let you know that you've won the, Andy, do you have that now? The 100-ounce Royal Canadian Mint Bar, if you want to show that on the screen. A big congratulations to Marcel Lapointe. Marcel Lapointe.
Let's see how long he can hold it up.
Yeah, looks. At least it's not the kilo, the how do you call them? The 1,000-ounce bars, the Comex bars. Yeah,
I used to have one in my office, and I would tell anyone who walked in, if you can pick it up with one hand, not using anything but one hand, no leverage, pick it up like this, you can keep it. No one's ever been able to do it, ever.
Oh my God, could you imagine? That should be our next contest. Okay, guys, and the winner is so Marcel Lapointe, félicitations, congratulations. I will be sending you an email here right after the show. And on the American side, Stephanie Petricki, and I'll say from Arizona. So big congratulations to Stephanie from Arizona. And that is, of course, the 100-ounce PAMP Swiss bar from Miles Franklin there. So congratulations to both of you winners. Thank you so much. And of course, you'll see that if you log into the contest here, the entries are now closed. And there's a link to this show. So if you haven't seen this already and you're looking for the winner, please go check out this link again for you guys. Okay, guys, where do we end it from here? We're 30 minutes in. Yes, Mr. Bix Weir.
I think I just want to leave you with this. I think right now, and this, I'm going to tell you why I think that right now is the number one best time to buy silver in the past 170 years. The main reason is you won't have to wait long. We have a situation where the commercial shorts are still short. They have to close out those shorts at some point. But now we have something that has been laid on top of that short position, and that is an 800 million ounce leased silver that needs to go back to JP Morgan. Now, mind you, I think it was 30 million ounces were delivered from Bank of America to JP Morgan last in, I think it was the December delivery month.
Yeah.
These leases that B of A took out, they're all less than 1 year. This started 18 months ago. So now is the delivery time. Not only are they going to be competing for silver bars from you and me and all of us, they're going to be competing for silver bars from what's that company called? That the company that bought 1/3 of SLV last year, Private Advisors Group.
Advisors Group. Yeah.
They're going to be competing for the silver from SLV investors. They're going to be competing for silver of COMEX investors. And when it breaks the 200-day moving average, they're going to be competing for silver for the tech investors in silver. Who in their right mind would sell any silver at that point? With all these people competing for getting their hands on some silver, there's no one left. JP Morgan surely is not going to start selling. They took 10 years to buy up 1.2 billion ounces. Mm-hmm. So I think right now, this year, because of all these, the perfect storm in silver is here. This year is the time, and right now is the time to buy silver, get it in your own possession, and then watch the fireworks.
Mm-hmm. A nice glass of wine. Make sure you have enough coffee and chocolate to go through some of the current shortages. And yes, absolutely watch the fireworks go. Again, guys, beyondmystic.net/silver. And Andy, for the last couple of times you've been on my interview, I keep forgetting to ask you, there's a gentleman who absolutely wants to know about your P51. You have a painting in the back, and you said you had a crazy story about that. Andy.
No, I don't have a crazy story about it. It's the Tuskegee Airmen. My dad is a collector of World War II aviation. He has a lot of these originals that are signed by the pilots themselves, including the German pilots. And no, it's not a crazy story. Just actually I do business with the grandson of one of the Tuskegee Airmen. So it's I believe the artist's name is, I think it's Charles Shaw is his name.
Okay.
And someday I'll have to do a show from my dad's office where he's got really amazing collection of World War II aviation art.
Cool. Very good. Well, I finally got
more people ask me about that painting than any single thing I have, including the guitars, or when I show the Jimi Hendrix pictures. Doesn't matter. It's either the Slipknot poster. My wife used to be the tour manager for them a long time ago, or the P51. So
the Mina. What was it called? What was that cushion called again? You have a cushion on your.
Yeah. Minneapolis.
Yeah, that one too. All right, before we go, Andy, BIX, remind the audience here what's next on the Roadshow.
Join us on the Roadshow. We leave on March 5th. First show is in Sonoma. And what are these shows? It's hanging out, talking about cryptocurrencies, talking about silver, talking about freedom mostly this time, singing songs, drinking beer, Q&A. Lisa's coming out on the road. Andy's coming out on the road. I don't know which days. They'll give me the days, and I'll let you know where they're going to be. Clint Westwood's coming out on the road. Anybody who wants to join, come on. I'm going to get Dick Allgaier. He's been begging to play guitar lately. California opens up on Wednesday. No more masks starting Wednesday. Dick Allgaier can fly down and hang out. We can play guitar. So the world is opening back up, and it's time that we got out there and started singing about the good things in life and stopping the bad things.
Very good. Dick Allgaier was saying today that he's got a new Bitcoin song for you, Bix, and he's waiting just for you. So, all right, very good, guys. You can find that at roadtoruta.com. There you're looking for the Freedom Roadshow. And talk about the subscription service here. What's new? Do you have any new coins? Any of these cool exclusive videos with either Cliff or Ginny? What can people expect here when they join the Road to Ruta?
Right now, we're giving away 50 Theta Fuel loaded on a paper wallet. For people who don't know anything about cryptos, it's perfect. For a 1-year subscription. We are not giving away the silver Road to Ruta coin, but there's talk, and there's some gears working on a new Road to Ruta coin, and Andy Scheckman's working on some bars that the whole world's ready for. We just got to get him trained on how to use that damn machine.
Monday.
Yeah. Awesome. Things are good. Things are good all over, and happiness is going to break out all over very soon.
Very much looks that way. Any last words of wisdom for you, sir? Mr. Andy at Miles Franklin, what's going on with you? Anything? Are you going to hit the road? Do you have any other?
I'm going to hit the road. I will be, I'm hoping to make the first show in Sonoma. I will for sure be at the next several through San Diego, maybe into Arizona. So I'm looking very forward to that. I'll bring you a silver Fender guitar pick, Bix. I saw someone ask if we have those, and yes, we do. And I have a bunch of them myself. So I'll bring you and Dick one so you can play that up on stage.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here today on this weekly Precious Metals Review Show. Thank you, Bix. Thank you, Andy. And guys, don't forget, join us tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern for another episode of the Wacky Woo with Jay Snip4. And who knows, it could get wacky. I mean, times are crazy here, of course. So
tell
Bix,
them to come out to Albuquerque and come look for some stuff and be part of the show. Bring your drums.
What else you got? Because he's in Florida, or you're not in that.
New Mexico. We're going to be in New Mexico on March 26th.
Oh yeah,
in Florida too. It's not. It's a sucky flight, but
yeah,
we're going to go to Florida on the next round. We're going to go hit Texas, Louisiana, and Florida.
The way things are going in Canada, I could probably make the New Mexico trip. Yeah.
Breaking out everywhere. I love it.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining. I love you guys. We'll see you at 8 o'clock Eastern. Take care, guys.
See you guys. See you, Bixie.
See ya.